All right, looks like we're cooking here. Looks like we're in good shape. So I'm going to go ahead and get this started. I'll go full screen here. All right, thank you guys for coming out and being with us tonight. And I think you're going to really enjoy this presentation, webinar, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to get started here as soon as we get our live, looks like our live feed is going. So I think we're in good shape. All right, guys, welcome to the webinar tonight. We're going to talk about automated selling systems and how to put your business on autopilot. So, you know, this kind of started off when I was a little kid and I was out with my dad and my grandfather and our little wooden boat. And we're cruising through Newport. And, you know, I'm a little kid and I'm looking at all these big boats. And I asked my dad, I'm like, Dad, how do we get one of those? And he said, well, he says, we don't get one of those because I have a job. And I thought to myself, and I'm like, well, if you have a job, you should be able to get whatever you want, right? And I said, how do those guys get those boats? And he said, they own businesses. And that was really what started it for me. It was like, okay, I understood right then and there, I didn't want a job. I wanted a business because I wanted one of those boats. So the real trick here is, you know, the secret is business is the fast track to your freedom. It really is. You're never going to get to freedom in any sort of a job. You might make a lot of money, but you'll never get to freedom. It takes a stable, profitable business to be able to afford the life of your dreams. That's really what it comes down to. But in order to do that, you got to sell stuff. And I don't know about you guys, but I hate selling stuff. That is like just one of the things about business to me that is just a real downer. But then I discovered that you can actually get orders without making sales. And boy, I tell you what, when I discovered that, I was awfully pleased. It was like a load of bricks were taken off my shoulder. So how would your life be if you were able to get orders without worrying about selling? How would that be? How would that make you feel? Let me let you in on this little secret. Successful businesses create demand for their products with strategic marketing. Now, follow me here for a minute. Think about that. When you have demand for your products, people just want to buy them. You don't have to sell them. Let me ask you this. How many salespeople work at McDonald's, right? They don't have salespeople. They have order takers. People are just there to take their orders. So how would you like it? You know, what do you want to do in your business? Would you rather make sales calls like that guy at the top, or would you rather pick up the phone and take orders? That sounds like a way better business to me. Great marketing makes selling superfluous. And it does this by creating demand and desire for your products. That's like the secret sauce. What they're doing is they're seducing the heart and convincing the head all at the same time. And the way that you do this, you seduce the heart with claims, promises, and emotions. And then you seduce the head, or actually rather you convince the head with proof, features, and functional benefits. So that's how you do it. That's how you seduce the heart and convince the head. So in essence, what you're doing, you're leading your prospect through a learning process where they discover why your solution is perfect for them. And on the way there, they build this huge desire for your product. It actually creates demand. And this changes everything for you. At that point, profit doesn't have to be painful. I love that saying, profit doesn't have to be painful. And here's the reality of the situation. One home run marketing campaign can change your life. And what you're about to learn, you're about to learn the framework for a home run marketing campaign and how to put those together. And once you have that, you'll be able to do this over and over and over as many times as you want. So the framework I'm talking about, this is the same framework that ad agencies have been using for over 100 years. And I'm going to show you how a 276-year-old advertising technique can help you create demand for your products. And this thing came from none other than Benjamin Franklin. I had to dig deep to find where this came from. And the first known magazine advertisement appeared in his General Magazine in 1741. And that was 276 years ago. That's pretty cool that this stuff goes back that far. And here's an article about him, about master marketer. That's what he was considered. And it says, Ben Franklin, who is sometimes called the patron saint of advertising, he did it better than most. So I don't know if he was the actual originator of all these techniques, but he certainly got them started here in America. So I'm going to get back to that later, and I'm actually going to show you, I'm going to reveal the marketing formula that he used 276 years ago to sell his wood-burning heater. And it's pretty cool. You're going to really like it. So effective advertising is entirely based on formulas. And I've been learning and having access to these formulas for a very long time. I started in business in 1985 as a commercial photographer. And I got to sit in the boardroom of a lot of major ad agencies. These are some of the companies that I did work for. And I got to sit in the boardroom and watch while their ad teams dreamed up these ad campaigns. And it was really, really cool. I got to learn from some of the best in the business of how ad campaigns are put together, the framework, the structure, how they're dreamed up, what the components are. And what I realized, there was a lot of formulas, and there's actually a framework for making money. And it's it's no surprise it's printed on the back of the dollar bill. And the framework, this is what I call the triad framework. And it's got foundation to it. Then you have a framework. It's just like building a house. At the bottom, at the base, you have a solid foundation. And then you build your framework on top of that. And then on the other side of it, you have an open house and you invite people in. So this really kind of formulates into a system that we created called ACT. And it works on this triad formula. So here's the framework. Here's what it looks like. The market, that's your foundation. That market is, if you're not building your foundation on a solid market, your house is going to fall apart. It's never going to hold up. It's like building it on sand. You've got to have that solid foundation in your market. And then your framework is really your message. It's that message to market. It's getting that right. And then your open house, that's your traffic. When you get those two things in place, you know the market, you know how to resonate with them, then you drive the traffic. That is a winning home run campaign. So we've created what's called the ACT system. And the foundation, that's analysis. That market, you create that. You don't create that market, you actually research the market and you find the market. You've got to find the right market. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit here. But if you don't have that market established, or you don't have the right market, you're really going to be building your house on sand. You have to get that figured out before you move into creation. And I've seen an awful lot of people make that terrible mistake, and they start building websites and start, paying a whole bunch of money out to create stuff, and they don't have a solid foundation. They haven't done that analysis and they haven't figured out their market. They haven't figured out who they're selling to and why and what moves them. So ACT is the framework for a successful marketing campaign. So I'm going to get into it here and just kind of give you guys a little bit of training from the ACT program itself. And I'll show you where we start. We start with segmenting the market. Everybody knows what market they're in generically, but that's not really where they're going to make their money. They're going to make their money out of a segment of that market. And what you have to do, you've got to validate that the size of the market is going to be big enough for what you want to support in your business goals. You've also got to validate the affordability that that market, that segment can actually afford your product or service. And then you got to validate that they actually need it. So that's the very, very first step in the process, is figuring that out, figuring out who the proper segment of your market is. Once you've got that figured out, then you move on to building your avatar. But it's really important to get this right first, because you can't build your avatar if you haven't figured out that segment yet. And let me just give you a little example here in the real estate market. In real estate, that's a market, but there's segments of the market. Like there's segments to buyers and there's segments to sellers, but that's not good enough. You've got to get down deeper. And I'll tell you why. Let's imagine that you're trying to sell to the real estate market and you don't segment, and you take buyers and sellers and you treat them the same, and you have a website and it addresses the needs of the buyer and the seller. When you're addressing the needs of the buyer, that's opposite of what the seller wants, and vice versa. So whenever you're trying to appeal to one, you're pushing the other one off the cliff. At the end of the day, you're not going to have anybody following you. And if that wasn't enough, you've got to go even deeper than that. Because once you figured out if you're speaking to a buyer or to a seller, now you've got to figure out what kind of buyer, what kind of seller. Is this a family, or is this a single mom, or is this a bachelor? Because you can imagine if you were talking bachelor pads to a family, that's not going to cut it. That's not going to fly. So it's very, very important that you figure this out very first in the game. If you don't have the segment right, there's no way you can move on to creation and create the proper message. And that's where a lot of people fail. They fall down. They don't get it right. If you don't do all this stuff in sequence, you're going to have a marketing disaster. And that's what I see an awful lot of times. So now that you've figured out who your market is, now we're going to dig deep into there, and we're going to figure out of that slice, out of that segment of the market, who's your ideal client? And we call that an avatar. An avatar is a representation of your ideal client. It's not a market, it's a person within the segment of the market. Now, I see a lot of people talking about avatars, and they've got the piece right that it's a representation of your ideal client, but they really don't explain how to do that. So really, you're picking something and you're saying, yeah, this would be my ideal client in an ideal world, but maybe that person doesn't even exist. Maybe that market segment doesn't even exist. You've got to do the research and figure out, does that market exist? Does that avatar exist within it? And are there enough of them to make it worthwhile to create a marketing message to them? So once you got that figured out and you know who that avatar is, then we go on to what's called a web analysis. That's a wants, emotions, and beliefs analysis. So we're digging into that particular avatar, figuring out what is it that they want? What are they emotional about because of those wants and needs? And what are their beliefs around it? The beliefs of your avatar is absolutely key, because those beliefs are going to become your objections. If you don't understand those beliefs, you'll never understand the objections, and you'll never be able to get over them to create that desire and demand for your product. When you understand that through that web analysis process, it's a piece of cake. When you create your marketing message, it's going to create a demand and a desire in your prospect to work with you and buy your products or buy your services. It works like magic, and it's an awesome formula. So next we do competitor research, because we want to know what the competitors are doing. We want to know what the promise is into the market. And we do that with a thing called promise exposure. And we have a whole segment on that, of going in and analyzing the promise exposure and also the unique mechanisms. Now, for those of you that don't know what a unique mechanism is, that is the unique thing that delivers the result. And what the reason that you need a unique mechanism is that's what sets you apart. Some people call that a unique selling proposition. Whatever you want to call it, it's the thing that delivers the result. Because your avatar, your ideal client, they want something. They're in a particular place and they want to be in a different place. They're on a timeline. So understanding where they are on the timeline and where they want to get to, you've got to have a unique mechanism that's going to deliver that result. That's the thing that they're going to see it and they're going to say, aha, that's what I was missing. That's why I didn't get the results before, and that's why I'm going to get them now. So adding a unique mechanism in is just a key component. It's imperative. And let me just give you an example of that. Here's a timeline of promise exposure. If you were the first person to the market with a new product that the world had never seen before, you can just go ahead and make the promise. So let me give you an example. If you were the first person on the planet to have a diet pill, you could just make the promise, take this pill and lose weight, and you would sell the tar out of it. Because there's a lot of people, there's a huge market that want a magic bullet. They want a magic pill where they can just take it and lose weight. They don't have to do anything. Just swallow the pill, that's it. So you can imagine everybody buys the pill and they find out it's not true. So now they have a belief of, well, that didn't work. So now you have to expand on the promise. And you say, you take this pill and then you do this and you follow this diet, you get on an exercise plan, and then it will work. So, okay, now they'll rebuy the pill and they might retry it. But when that doesn't work, and also now you've got 50 other people selling the same thing. So how do you separate yourself? How do you get them to buy it again? That's where the unique mechanism comes in. When you have a market now that everyone starts flooding into and you're all selling the same thing, you're all selling the same diet pill and you're all making the same promise and the same claims, how do you stand out? At that point, you're in a price war. Everybody's selling the same thing and it's just going to come down to who sells it the cheapest. That's a horrible place to be in a business. So that's where unique mechanism comes in. When you have a unique mechanism, they will buy it above everyone else and the price doesn't matter. So in the diet pill, that would be an example of Garcinia cambogia. That's the unique mechanism. That's what's going to deliver the result. That's what people bought into. And the first person that made that claim and had that unique mechanism, they sold a boatload of diet pills. And it was the same diet pill that they had before. They just said, now it's got Garcinia cambogia in it. Well, the reality is it probably had it in there all along, just like all the rest of them. So just days later, all of a sudden, now the market is flooded with Garcinia cambogia from 20, 30, 40, 50 different manufacturers. So now, all of a sudden, you've got everyone with the same unique mechanism. So now you have to expand on the mechanism again so you can stand out and be unique. So now it's Garcinia cambogia that's cold pressed. The enzymes are live. They're not killed through the cooking process that everyone else uses. Whatever it may be, you just have to be able to expand on your unique mechanism. So when you're doing that, when you're creating this and you're creating your market promise and your unique mechanisms, you don't want to go crazy and go to the end of the line. You want to hold stuff back because your competitors are going to copy you and they're going to start doing the same thing you're doing. So it's important that you stay a step ahead of them. So don't throw all your unique mechanisms on the table at once. Throw them out there as one at a time, as many as you need to get the job done. So that's in the analysis process. We're doing a lot of analysis of looking at the competitors, what they're doing, where they're going, what they're promising, all that. And we've got formulas for everything. It's almost like paint by numbers to do this. And it's really cool because when you get this done, when you get analysis done, Then you can move into creation, and this is where you're creating your marketing materials. You know, your hook or your lead in. A lot of times in the ad industry, that is called your big idea. The big idea. It's like the advertisement for your sales letter or your sales page. And then we show you how to build education-based marketing. And a little earlier, that's where I said you walk people through the process of learning how your solution is ideal for them. And it creates a huge demand. And it's really incredible. When they have that demand, they actually ask how they can buy it. You don't have to sell anything. You just have to have an offer and make the offer out there. Just show them the offer and they'll go for it. So in the process, you're exposing their pain, you're solving their problem, and you're creating that desire. And then at the end of it, you have an irresistible offer. And you put on top of that rock solid guarantees and a simple call to action. And that is an incredible framework for creating a marketing plan that is an absolute home run that can change your life. So here's the breakdown. Here's like the framework of it. So on the left, you've got your hook. This is where you convey your big idea. That's your that is basically your ad. So that's going to generate a lead for you. And you need an attention-grabbing headline and a call to action. And then we drop a tracking pixel on there and we retarget with that pixel. Next, they move to a landing page. This is where we're going to convert the lead into a prospect. Again, you need an attention-grabbing headline and an offer to opt in. And that moves them over to what I had referred to earlier as your education-based marketing system. And that's a sales vehicle, however you deliver it, but that's the thing that creates the desire and the demand for your product. So you want to restate the hook, you want captivating headlines throughout, and then you move them into that education-based marketing system. And you use the CPB repeated as needed formula to create all of the beliefs that you need for them to want to buy your product. And I'll show you in just a minute how to do that, that CPB as needed. And then that moves into the irresistible offer. And that, of course, goes to the order form. This is where you convert your prospect into a buyer. And you can use e-commerce for that. You can use promo codes, guarantee seals, money shots, all of that stuff. It's all formulas and it's a framework. And it works like magic. And then you take them to your thank you page. That's where you've got the money now. You congratulate them. You make sure that they know they made a great choice. And then you fulfill and you deliver on what you promised. So here's creation of the hook. The hook is, again, your big idea. This always comes out of analysis. Every time your hook should come out of analysis. You don't make these up. These come out of what you discover. And what happens is the hook is what keeps your avatar up at night. So if you can answer this question, you'll have a pretty good idea of what your hook might be. And this is what your prospect is thinking when they're trying to go to sleep. If I could only blank, then I would be able to blank so that I could blank. Whatever those three things are, that is going to be really, really close to what your hook winds up being. So somebody might say, you know, if I could only make an additional $10,000 a month, then I'd be able to pay off all my bills and I would be able to go on vacation, and that would get me to where I didn't have to worry about money ever again. So if that was it, that would be your hook. You would develop your hook out of that. Whatever that may be for your ideal client, for your avatar, when you can fill in those three things, that alludes to how to build a hook for them. So in creation, the next step is figuring out where your prospects are in the prospect awareness pyramid. Now, a lot of times they're completely unaware, and marketers tend to discard those. they don't go after them because they don't know how to reach them. They typically try and reach them at the problem aware or the solution aware. And quite honestly, a lot of them go right to product aware, which is a huge mistake. Unless your prospect has already climbed up the ladder there and they've already researched the problem and they've researched the solution and they've researched the products, if you're talking about product, you're way too early in the game. You haven't created desire yet. You create desire by moving them up the ladder here. The biggest opportunity lies in the completely unaware. When you can make them aware of a problem that they didn't understand they have, but they recognize it when they see it, and you take them into your education-based marketing system and you show them the problem, you make them completely aware of the problem, and then you make them aware of the solution. You still have not talked about the product yet. You're just making them aware there's a solution out there. And then once you've created that desire and you've showed them what that solution is going to look like and how their life is going to be embittered by it, you know, that's when you offer the product. Then you take them into talking about your product. Once they are in love with your product, then you take them into what's the most aware, and that's your offer. So when you follow that formula, you'll make 10 times more sales than if you start just talking about the solution or the product and you're on the wrong plane. So when you create a marketing campaign, you want to start thinking about the bottom first, the completely unaware. How do you bring them in, make them aware? And this is about your marketing message, creating your marketing message, which sometimes is called an argument. And really, you have to get over, you've got to install those beliefs. You either have to create them or sometimes you have to replace them, because your avatar is going to have beliefs already. So it's really important that you use that web analysis to understand what those beliefs are. There's 4 types of beliefs that your prospect is going to have. There's going to be beliefs about themselves. There's going to be beliefs about you. There's going to be beliefs about the product or the solution, whether it will actually work or not. And then there's also beliefs about the market itself. So those really become objections. And the way that you create your marketing message is by replacing those beliefs and objections with new beliefs that eliminate the objections. And you do that through the formula CPB plus CPB plus CPB equals a sale. What CPB is, it's claim, proof, benefit. And it's really, really a key factor in creating your sales message, your marketing message. That is going to create demand and desire. Every time you replace a belief that takes and eliminates an objection and creates a desire, you're just increasing the demand for your product and the desire for them to have it. So claims are what do that. Claims are what diminish those old beliefs and replace it with new beliefs. And then that's not good enough. You have to follow it up with proof. The best way to provide proof is through third-party verification. Because if you say it, it is still a claim, but there's no proof to it. It's like if you say it, that's one thing. But if the market says it, that's another. If an authority figure says it, if someone that they respect and trust says it, then it becomes proof. If social media says it, and it's a bunch of people, if a whole market says it, again, that's proof. And then we go into benefits. So you need these claims and the proofs and the benefits, and you use those to install or replace beliefs. So here's the way we do benefits. We do a 3-part benefit that becomes dimensionalized. And if you do it right, they'll be able to hear it, see it, and feel it. So the functional benefit that's what it does. Generally, people will use features for that. Sometimes they'll say, this is what it is, this is what it does. but that's really what it does. And that's the benefit. So in the diet pill industry, the functional benefit of the diet pill is it will make you lose weight. So that's what they hear. They hear that function. And then you go on to the dimensionalized benefit. This is where they see it. So you say, you'll lose weight to where you're back to the way you looked in high school. So they know that. Now all of a sudden you've drawn a picture and they can see it in their mind. So you're going to lose weight so you can look like you looked like when you're in high school. So now they've heard it, they've seen it, and now you're going to throw another layer on top where they can feel it. And then you say, imagine how you're going to feel when you look in the mirror and you see the body that you had when you were in high school. How is that going to make you feel when people turn their heads and they notice you because of that? So now they've heard it, they've seen it, and they feel it. When you throw a benefit out like that, that's like using a flamethrower. It's absolutely awesome. And then next step is creation of your irresistible offer. And this is where you've got to show them the deliverables. You've got to show them the features of the deliverables and why they need them. Again, you offer benefits. Every one of the features, every one of the deliverables, you need to follow up with the functional, dimensional, and emotional benefits of every one of those. And then you offer bonuses. And then you offer risk reversal. And then when it comes to the price, if you're going to discount the price, you've got to rationalize the discount. Otherwise, you're just cheapening your offer, and that's not good. When it comes to the price, you want to show the savings. You want to show the amount off, the percentage off, and the savings. That's very important. And then you want to trivialize the price. Now, by trivializing the price, basically what that means is you're making it ridiculous compared to something else. Like you say, you know, for the price of a cup of Starbucks coffee, you could have this, whatever it is. That's trivializing the price. So it kind of makes it ridiculous for them to pass on the offer. So that's something you want to really think about, because that's a really cool thing to do. And then you go into scarcity and urgency. And this is why they need to do it now. And it's also why, you know, there's only so many of them. So they've got to get it now or they're going to lose out. And then you go to contrast. And when you go to contrast, this is like, if you don't do it, then this is going to happen, or this is why you shouldn't do it, or this is who it's not for, all of that kind of stuff. So that's the contrast. And let me just show you, we talked about Benjamin Franklin a little earlier, and this is an example of him using claim proof benefit. There in the blue outlined box, you'll see he's talking about the science of heat and heat transmission. So that's a claim. And then he calls upon authorities to reinforce his arguments. That's proof. And then highlights the healthful benefits. So there it is in black and white, claim proof benefit being used 276 years ago. That's pretty awesome. So I had to show that to you. And you know, it's no surprise why he's on the $100 bill. This guy knew how to make money. He knew how to make it 276 years ago. And they've got him on the $100 bill because of it. So those are the pieces. That's what it takes to make an automated online selling system. You can put this on complete autopilot like never before. You know, in the old days, they had to do this. They had to print it. They had to do everything the hard way. And now we can do it online. We can automate the process. So it's really cool that you could be able to do that. And then here's where we go on to the fun part. And this is traffic. This is where you drive traffic. Imagine that you've created your automated selling system. Now you can drive people through there to make sales. And this is what we call conversion. This is where you convert people from prospects into buyers. And it's important to know your conversion numbers. This is where a little bit of arithmetic comes in. but I promise it won't be scary. So I'm just going to give you an example here to figure out conversion numbers. If your cost per click was 50 cents per click, and that's what you were paying, and your conversion percentage is the clicks per sale. So if you did 1%, that means one person out of 100 was going to buy. Basically, that's going to cost you $50 to convert, because you're 100%, 1 out of 100, you're going to take 100 people at 50 cents per click. So it's going to cost you 50 bucks to make that sale. Now, if your customer value, the profit in the sale, is $97 and it costs you 50, that leaves you a total profit at the end of the day of $47. So what this means is if you're going to put in 50 bucks, you're going to get 97 back. How often would you want to do that? Better yet, how would you like to double your sales conversions? Triple them, quadruple them. That's what making a home run marketing campaign is all about. That's so you can put $1 in and get multiple dollars back. And that's how you get to freedom. That's how you can actually buy your way there. It's really cool. So the traffic formula, you figure out your desired income and you divide that into the profit per sale, and that equals the sales you need. So if you want to make an extra 100,000 and your product is going to give you $100 per sale profit, then you know you need to sell 1,000 of those a month. So that's just a matter of how much traffic do you need to buy to make that happen. It really is just math. You can buy your way to any level of income. That's why this is so scalable. You can, if there's not enough traffic in a particular source, you can always add another traffic source. But you can always get there. This is what makes businesses scalable. So think about that. If you had a system that could make you $100,000, what would you do with it? What would you do with the money? Some people tell me they'd pay off their debt. Some people say they'd go on vacation. Some people tell me they would spend more time with their family. They would be able to live the life they've always wanted to. And that's cool. Whatever you would do with it, that's awesome. It's available though. It is absolutely attainable. So ACT is the simple step-by-step solution that you need to live financially free, because it's going to allow you to build a home run marketing campaign. And that's going to get you to that freedom that you desire. So let me just tell you what's included in the ACT program. It's complete video training and all the formulas you need to create that. It's the framework for a marketing campaign that will be a home run. So it covers analysis, covers the overview, how to figure out your market segmentation, how to create your avatar, and how to do your competitive analysis. So you really have everything you need to move to the next step and create your marketing message. Now here we go through the tools, the hook, high demand products, irresistible offers, copywriting, headlines, landing pages, sales vehicles, and order forms. And then we move into traffic and we cover pay-per-click, Facebook, and conversion tracking. And you get a quick start guide, you get a workbook with worksheets. You basically get everything that you need to create that marketing campaign. We also include several cheat sheets and swipe files that are templates. You get a market cheat sheet, a funnel cheat sheet, a traffic cheat sheet. So basically one for each section. And then we have a webinar template. We also have a sales letter template. And it's not a template like a lot of these guys are selling where you fill in the blanks. Those really don't work. If you're going to create a marketing campaign, it's got to be based on the wants, emotions, and beliefs of your prospects. And the guys that are building these automated templates, they just don't get that. So we give you a framework and a structure, and it's a template, but it's not just put a couple things in and it spits out your copy for you. We actually show you how to create effective copy. Also included is full support. And we have ongoing support for the system for just $29.97 a month. Basically, for under $30 a month, you get access to our community, and we've got weekly calls for Q&A. It's a high level of support for 30 bucks a month. You get access to the community website exclusively for ACT members. You get enrolled in our 100K membership status, and that's where it's performance based, and I'll get to that in just a minute. Weekly calls for support, 24-hour support on our forum. We have live implementation workshops like 3 or 4 times a year. They're 2 full days, and you basically get to come for just the price of the lunches and the course materials, which is $99. You can actually bring a guest with you as long as they're working on the same business, and they also can come for just $99. We also do occasionally video conference focus groups to really get into the nitty-gritty when you're having trouble. Also, we have access to certified coaches, certified ACT coaches. We also have done-for-you services. If you decide that you love the concept, but you just don't want to do the implementation, we can take that step for you. If you just need a helping hand, we've got a thing called the ACT Apprentice Program. So whatever level support you need, we're there for you. Got you covered. So bonuses. We have a freedom formula lesson and worksheet. And what this does for you is it attaches your desired outcome to the work that you're going to put into the program. Because if you don't do this, what we've found, if you don't attach what you're going to get out of what you're doing, usually you won't do it. So it's almost like a mindset issue. And we use the freedom formula to blow that blockage out of your way so you can actually get to the end of the rainbow, like where you want to go. We have a complete resource guide for all the resources that we use and anything that you might need. We've got video recordings of our first live event. You get access to that. Like I'd mentioned before, you get access to buy additional event tickets for your guests. And I've got one guest down there, but if you've got multiple people on your team, I really urge you to bring them all. So it's $99 per guest that you want to bring. And I really, like I said, I would urge you to bring all of the people so everyone is on the same page. Bring them in. I'll train your whole team right there for you. You get readmittance to all future live events. We do these implementation events like 3 or 4 times a year. So you get to come to all of them, any of them that you want. Again, it's just $99 for the event fee, which covers your lunches and the course materials. And you get full access to the Internet Dominators Club, which covers at high level how to do SEO, should you ever want to do that. And that's something I've been running since 2008. You get access to that as long as you retain your ongoing support membership. And the next live event is May 25th and 26th. So you guys could come out to that. It's in a couple of weeks. And you could really get going on this very quickly. So another thing I want to talk about here is the price. Now, I don't do all this crazy stuff like, throw $50,000 worth of value and then slash the price. I don't believe in that stuff. The price of the program is $19.97. It is worth 100 times that, because this is the thing that's going to make the difference for you. But just so you know, we have a risk reversal guarantee. It's 100% money back guarantee for 30 days, and we call it our shark bite guarantee. If at any time within 30 days you decide that this is not for you for any reason whatsoever, all you do is call our support number and just tell us the shark bit it. No questions asked. We will just refund your money, 100%. So we've got that in place. But if that wasn't enough, I believe in this program so much that we are offering a results in advance offer. So with the $19.97, with the results in advance offer, Today, you pay $497 to get in and get access to everything, and the second payment is deferred until you make your first 100,000 with the program. So basically, it's 100K or you don't pay the balance guarantee. So if you take it for what it costs you today, that's basically that goes down. I'm trivializing the price here just as a learning point. That takes it to $1.36 a day. Now, what could you buy for $1.36? Like 2 bites of a Big Mac? That's about all you'd get. That's the cost of the program. It would be ridiculous for you not to jump on it. And furthermore, I talked about that 100K club. What we're doing is when people enter the program, they're automatically enrolled in the 100K challenge. Now, the 100K challenge, basically what that is, it's a race for the first person to make 100,000 with the program. Since this program is just launching, everyone is basically at the starting point at the same time. So the first person to implement the program and hit 100,000 in sales using the ACT program is going to win and walk away with this $100,000 gold bar. It's a 4-ounce silver bar that is gold plated, and it's a replica of a $100,000 bill, and that's going to be the prize. Now, the other thing with the 100K challenge is anybody that hits the 100K challenge, obviously that's when your $1,500 payment would be due. We're going to allow you on this first round, anybody that is in the program now, we're going to allow you to trade the $1,500 payment in for a video testimonial. So really that makes the price of the program $497 to you, whether you hit the 100,000 or not. Now, we believe that everyone will hit it if you actually implement the program. Now, honestly, I can't guarantee that anybody is going to make anything because I can't guarantee you're going to do anything. So there's no way I can make any kind of a guarantee of income, but I can tell you this. People that are making a lot of money online, they're using the same framework. They're using the same formula, and I'm going to give it to you, every piece of it. Every step of the way will be there to help you implement it if you want to get there. So again, $19.97 is discounted today for $497 with our results in advance guarantee. Now, again, if you hit the 100,000 and you want to trade that second payment in for a video testimonial, you're welcome to do that. So the way you get this is you go to internetdominators.com/ACT. And that's basically how you would get that. So that is it for the program. Let me see here. Let me open up a Q&A. If anybody has questions, you can go ahead and type them in the Q&A box. Let's see, or the chat. I have the chat open as well, so. All right, so anyway, that is it. That's it for today. Go to internetdominators.com/ACT and take advantage of that. And hopefully you guys can make it out to our live event. It's May 25th and 26th is the next one. So hopefully we will see you guys there.